Hi there, my name is Greg, and I'm going to give you a rundown on Kleanza's policy on trailering and hooking up a trailer and a truck. So today we're going to be hooking up this GMC Sierra to this big industrial trailer. Now, first thing you want to do is do a complete vehicle inspection. And you can refer to Kleanza's vehicle inspection video on how to do that. Once you've completed that, you want to come to the back of the vehicle and inspect the actual trailering elements of that vehicle. So when you get to the back of your truck, there's a few things you want to look at. This is a receiver hitch. Some vehicles, you'll see there's a little hole cut here. Some vehicles will have a place to hook a ball on the bumper. We don't want to ever use that because that's not as structurally sound as a receiver hitch is. So when you're inspecting the back of your bumper, you want to make sure the bumper's in good shape. You want to make sure the receiver hitch is solid, that none of these areas are bent. There's no rocks in the receiver itself. And you also want to walk up to either above the bumper or sometimes hanging down below where you have your electric plugs. You want to make sure that they're all in good shape. Nothing's broken, nothing's bent, and that the lid is securely fastened. So once you're sure that everything is in good working order, the next thing you want to do is fit your actual hitch. Now, hitches come in a number of shapes and sizes. You can see there's two I've got here with me today. What you want to do is make sure that the hitch receiver and the hitch actually are the same size. If I put this one into that slot, you'll notice it's rolling around. This is not the right size. If we move to this one, you'll see it's got an additional cuff. This cuff fits into the hitch receiver and acts as an adapter. So you slide the hitch in, you'll see that everything is nice and tight. Once you've got it all in place, you want to slide the major hitch pin through the hole. This may take a little bit of wiggling to get it all lined up. And then slide your little cotter pin through that as well. Sometimes you'll have a locking device on here as well. Either way, you want to make sure that it's well secured and everything is locked in place. Before you leave this, you also want to check to make sure the ball and the nut holding the ball on are nice and solid. If there's any movement or give here at all, this needs to be tightened and is not safe to take a trailer. So now that we've got the truck all ready to go, the next thing we want to inspect is the trailer. When you're inspecting trailers, I recommend that you start at the neck of the trailer, so the front end, check everything up here, and then work yourself all the way down and around to make sure you're inspecting every element. First thing you want to check is the actual hitch function. Now there's a large variety of hitch types out there. This is a fairly industrial one, very sturdy. Some will have a few more moving parts. Basically, you want to open it up, make sure that everything moves smoothly. If you lock the bail open, you can also check underneath. Take a look up there, make sure there's no rocks or debris and that it's well oiled. That's going to make sure when we want to slide this over the hitch ball on the truck that it'll work properly. You also want to check all of the wiring. Look through each piece of wiring, make sure there's no cracks, no burrs, no little loose wires coming out of anything here. You also want to check your breakaway cable. Again, make sure there's no burrs, and you should be doing all of this with gloves on to protect your hands. You want to check the battery box. This is the battery for the electric trailer brake, and there's a button here, you can push that. A little light will come on, tell you how full that is charged. That's very important. If it's not charged, you need to get a new battery or at least charge this one. You also want to look at the neck of the trailer and make sure it's straight. Some trailers will have a single beam. If it's bent out of line at all, that can really be detrimental to the trailer and how it tows. This one has a nice big V. It's all in really good shape. Other things to check while you're still at the neck of the trailer include the foot or leg. Make sure that it's running smoothly. This is what lifts the trailer up and down so you can hook it to the truck. You also want to check these chains. These are the breakaway chains. You want to make sure that this gate is not too bent out of shape. You can see this one, it actually is slightly bent, but that's not too far. It still locks. You also want to look at the chain itself and make sure that all the chain links are the same shape and that none of them have been ground flat or distended, because that means this chain has been under pressure, and that's also very dangerous. If your trailer is equipped with a spare tire up at the front, it's good to check it. Again, you can follow the directions for how to check tires in the vehicle inspection form. Let's move down the side of the trailer now. As you walk along the side of the trailer, what you want to do is make sure that all the reflectors and any lights are in good shape. have a look at the deck of the trailer, make sure the deck is smooth, make sure there's no big rust underneath the trailer. If you can see any wires, make sure that the covering on them is not cracked or broken. Make sure there's nothing hanging down underneath the length of the trailer. When you get back to where the wheels are, check again for the suspension with springs. You want to make sure they're all there, all in line, not out of place. And tires, tire pressure. Again, you can see that in the other video we've made about the vehicle inspection. Make sure everything down here is well lubricated as well. If any of these nipples look really dry, they probably need to be greased. Beyond that, again, more reflectors, lights, checking the deck out. When you get to the back of the trailer, you want to make sure there's a license plate that has a current registration on it and the light on here is working. Once we have the trailer hooked up, we can check all the lights again. And basically do the same thing up the other side of the trailer, so that make sure that trailer is all in working condition and ready to go. So now the truck and the trailer, we know they're both in working condition. Next thing we need to do is hook them both together. Now to start this, I want to make sure that they're both at the same height. A good rule of thumb for this is just to stand beside one, see where the neck of the trailer comes on your leg, walk over to the truck, and make sure they're about the same height. What you want is for the neck of the trailer to be that much higher than the ball on the truck is. So I'm going to lift this one up a little bit. That looks like the right height. Now what you want to do next is get a spotter to help you. When you're spotting for someone, you'll have the driver in the vehicle down there. The spotter is going to stand behind the back of the vehicle and in front of the trailer. It's important not to stand in this space here. This is a pinch point. If something goes wrong with the truck, you're going to get hit. So you want to stand outside of the line of the truck and trailer so you're safe. When you're spotting for someone, it's important to talk about what directions you're going to give. So in this case, I'm going to tell my driver, this means I want you to go to the left, this means I want you to go to the right, this means come towards me, this means stop, so that we both know what we're doing before we start the procedure. I'm now going to guide my driver to back this up, and then we'll set up the hookup. So once you've got your trailer and your truck lined up, make sure the truck has its emergency brake on and is in park. If you're not with your emergency brake on, once you take the weight of the trailer, it can actually slide. You also want to make sure before you hook up the trailer or take this leg off the ground that you've got chocks both front and rear of the trailer tires on one side at least. If you're on any sort of hill or on the side of the road, you want to chock both sides of the trailer to stop it from spinning around. Once you've got it lined up, what you want to start doing is lowering the trailer down, nice and gently. As you can see, I'm rocking it back and forth a little bit just to make sure it drops in. I'm also going to make sure this gate is nice and open to make sure it catches. Keep lowering nice and gently. Making sure the ball is seated nicely. Looks like we're good. So we're going to lower the foot now until we're going to bring up so it's about 2 inches off the ground. And this will allow us to still stay safe in case something here gives away, but it'll also allow us to test to make sure the trailer is working properly. So once you've got the hitch properly seated into your hitch receiver, the next thing you want to do is make sure everything locks down. So on this hitch, it's very simple. You pull this pin out and drop that piece down. It's now hooked under the ball so the ball won't come off. And you want to take your spring pin and put it through here, oops, this way, and lock that down. Now this can't open up. Sometimes you'll have an actual padlock that fits here. That's also very useful as long as you know where the key is. But basically you just want to make sure that's locked on. The next thing you want to do is hook up your breakaway chains. There are 2 breakaway chains on every trailer, and they're designed to pull the trailer if for some reason this ever gives out. Most people want to hook them up directly. That's a faux pas. What we want to do is actually cross them over. In this case, I'm going to do it a couple times because they're fairly long chains. What this will do is it strengthens the chains and allows for the chain to pull the trailer sideways if it ever breaks apart and stop the vehicle immediately. So I'm going to hook these chains through, making sure that bail goes down. I'm going to hook one on there, one on there, making sure there's nice clearance underneath them so nothing is touching the ground anymore, nothing's dragging on the pavement. If the chains are dragging while you drive, they're actually going to grind away and they'll eventually weaken and be useless. The next thing we're going to hook up is our wiring harness. So this is the wiring that runs the brakes on the trailer. It's going to go up to this little gate on the truck, and you'll notice on the wiring harness it's perfectly circular except for this little bump on this side. This corresponds to a bump on the top of the plug. So this is going to be the top. Slide that in and it should lock in place with the lid. So that can't come undone. The final thing we're going to hook up is our breakaway brake. So this is an emergency pull cord. If this trailer ever leaves this truck, it will pull this out and it'll turn all the brakes on this trailer on. This is going to come through, and in this case we're going to hook it through one of these eyelets on the side here. We're going to pull this out and bring it back through itself. So we've made a little loop and prop this back in, making sure that goes the right way. So this trailer is now properly hooked up and ready to go. We can now take the rest of the foot off the ground. Some feet wind all the way up. This one, as you can see, there's a little bit of a pin down here. This pin needs to be taken out. We need to lift it up and then wind it the rest of the way. So once everything's connected, now we need to make sure that all the electrical is working properly and the brakes are working properly. So the first thing we're going to check is the electrical, which means all the lights. I'm going to jump in the cab, going to turn my lights on. We're going to do the same thing. Reverse lights, brake lights, and indicator lights. And I'm going to have my assistant go to the stern of the trailer, so the very back end, and check both sides. All the lights that are on the side of the trailer, if your trailer is equipped with them, should be working, and all the ones at the rear, as well as the license plate light up light, should all be working. So now we're going to test the emergency breakaway brake. To do that, we're going to pull the breakaway cord so it's loose. We can leave that right here. And then we're going to get in the truck and pull the trailer just gently. So that means just putting it in drive. We're not going to apply any gas. We don't want to rip anything apart. We're trying to just test to make sure those brakes have come on. Yep. So it looks like the brakes are working well. They locked up. That's great. We can put this pin back in. Make sure you orient it the right way. If there's any pressure at all, don't keep pushing it. These are very small plastic fixtures and they cost a lot to replace. Hear that click when I put it back on? It was the brakes all resetting. So everything is off now. We should be good to go. The next thing you need to do is set your trailer gain. Now this is the amount of pressure that goes to the brakes on the trailer. If you have too much brake on the trailer will brake before the truck ever brakes, and you'll wear out the tires on the trailer. If you have too much brake power on the truck and not enough brakes on the trailer, if you brake hard, what can happen is the trailer can actually swing forward and push the truck and cause an accident. So you want to balance these two out so they brake at about the same thing. And that's your trailer gain. Various trucks have this in different places. Some it's an aftermarket feature that hangs down underneath the dash. Some, like on this GMC, it's actually built into the dash. And it's right here. You've got a plus and a minus, you've got a little trailer symbol, and you've got a slidey lever, which is actually a testing unit that actually applies the brake manually. So on this GMC truck, we've got the trailer information built right in. On some vehicles, this will be on a gauge down below. What you're seeing here is a trailer gain is currently set to 4, and this output, because my foot is on the brake, is all the way up. If I take my foot off the brake, it goes off. So 4 is very high gain. It's probably far too much. In this case, the trailer would brake immediately. So we're going to turn that down using the minus button on our output gauge down here. We push minus down to about 1. See, we've got 1 on the gauge now. Now what you want to do at this point is let the vehicle roll forward. So you want to be on a nice flat surface, put it in drive. You're going to roll forward, and without touching the brake on the vehicle, you're going to use these little levers and close them together And what that will do is only apply the trailer brakes, not the vehicle brakes. If that stops the vehicle and trailer, then you're doing well. If it jolts the vehicle, like stops the trailer much too quickly, you need to turn it down a little bit more. If it doesn't stop the vehicle at all, you need to turn the gain up. And this is a bit of a trial and error process. It can take a little while to get used to, and it will be different for every different weight on the trailer. If you have an empty trailer, it's very light, which means you don't need very much gain. If you have a heavy trailer, fully loaded trailer, you need to put the gain much higher because you're carrying that much more weight. So after you've set your gain in your truck, you're going to start driving. Drive along for about half an hour, 20 minutes, and then it's important to get out, stop, come to the back, and just check the brakes on the trailer. Because trailers can be very light, sometimes your truck won't even notice them. You won't know if something's malfunctioning or not working properly. And one good way of checking to make sure at least that your brakes are working properly is to get out, walk around the trailer, and also take the back of your hand, preferably in a glove, and just hold it against the steel wall of the trailer wheel. If the brake has been on or is rubbing, that will cause a lot of heat, which will transfer through to that wheel, and then you can check and make sure. If any of those wheels, there's 4 on this trailer, if any of them are really hot, you've got a problem with your brakes and need to stop and adjust it. If nothing is hot, they're probably fine, keep going. But it is important to check your trailer at least once every hour of driving time. Just get out, walk around it, make sure that everything is good. Next thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about loading a trailer. So this is a really long truck and trailer. And because it's a long trailer, you might want to put all your load up near the front, or maybe you want to put it all the way at the back because it blocks your visibility. These are both problems. When you're loading a trailer, regardless of how long or short it is, you want to make sure the weight is very carefully balanced. Ideally, the load on the trailer should have about 20% of the weight of the whole unit of the load on the truck, which means when you're balancing a load on the trailer, you want to have about 60% of that weight forward of the wheels, which are the balance points in the trailer, and about 40% behind. So if I was going to load, say, a big UTV or 3 or 4 quads, I want to still have them centered approximately here, so just in front of the wheels, to make sure I've got a little bit more weight forward than I do behind. That'll enable the truck to balance nicely. It'll enable all of the suspensions and all of the axles on both the truck and the trailer to carry that load, and it'll enable all the steering functions to work properly. If you have too much weight forward, it can actually lift the front of your truck off the ground and eliminate your steering, which again can be very disastrous. So when you're loading a trailer, once you've got your item loaded, be it a snowmobile, be it a quad, be it whatever you're carrying, the next thing you need to do is secure that to the trailer properly. I've got laid out here a variety of things we've used. Not all of these are safe. This strap right here, something you could buy at Canadian Tire, it's strong enough, but it's not secured or certified to carry any sort of real weight. This one here looks a lot more durable, but again, it's not got any certification. We don't know how much weight this can hold. Finally, we've got this one. This is a professional industrial strap. It actually has the weight it can bear written on it. Preferably, this is always what you should be using when you're attaching a load to a trailer. Other options, of course, include typical rope. When you come to rope, make sure you're tying proper knots. We'll do a video later called Kleanza Ropes and Knots, and that'll tell you about that. Sometimes people also use chain. With chain, you'll need a specific sort of tightening device. In this case, we've got twisting shackles. In other cases, actually, people have chain wrenches or truck tie downs. We don't have those to show you today. But any of these will work if used properly, but it's always recommended that you go with something that is certified. So thanks for watching our trailer video. I hope that, again, you've been able to learn something valuable and now know how to safely hook up and check the brakes on a trailer that you might be towing. Safe travels.